This first situation that I'm gonna tell you is the first one I can remember that was so traumatizing for me that like, I've never been the same when I face denials. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. You can use code MollyBurke to get 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name. Disclaimer, I might have shared this story at some point. I don't know, I don't recall. I've posted over 1,000 videos on YouTube, but I think that this story is still worth either telling or retelling because with time you gain different perspective. I think that this is a big issue that people like me face more often than we should. And talking about it is the way that we can begin to create change. And one more thing before we actually do finally get into the stories, I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is your one-stop shop to build a beautiful online presence for your business. I use Squarespace. My website, mollyburkeofficial.com, is a Squarespace website, and I'm a big fan because building a website from scratch can be so expensive, but with Squarespace, girl, you don't have to. They have all these preset templates and layouts, and now they have an AI tool, which is Squarespace Blueprint, that has search engine optimization and all of these different layouts to help you build a website that basically looks completely custom and unique and expensive, but for a fraction of what it would actually cost. So just pick the layout that resonates the most with you and your brand, and then you can plug and play. Say there's like a video that plays automatically, you can actually switch that out for like a photo, for example, which is what I did with my website. And honestly, nobody would ever know that it was built off of an already existing design because it looks so unique and custom to you and your brand. And also, if you are somebody who sells products, whether they be like digital products or physical goods, you can host an online shop on your Squarespace website. They make it super easy for your clients with easy pay, accepting credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, ClearPay, Afterpay in eligible countries. Like, they've got it all covered for you. So don't think twice when it comes to them. They've got marketing tools, access to incredible analytics. They've got what you need, and you can use code MollyBurke to get 10% off your purchase of a website or domain when you're ready to build your website. Good luck. I've got Snoopy here for moral support. He's here as my little doggy buddy holding my paw through this. These are really hard memories. They are stories I don't like to think about, but I think they are important to talk about. And that is 3 of the many service dog denials I've experienced, but 3 that stand out as like top tier worst experiences where like I look at them and I'm in shock that they happened. These were very traumatizing, and my brain loves to disassociate from trauma. It's like a cute little coping mechanism I've developed, and I've had my whole life. I'm somebody who, like 2008, 2009, a lot of traumatic things happened to me, a lot of which I quite literally have zero recollection of. I have very few memories from that time in my life, and my parents will tell me stories of things that happened to me that they like witnessed during that time, and it's like I'm hearing a brand new story, because I do not remember it. And I'm like, wow, that is awful. But like, I don't remember it. My therapist says it's a good thing. My brain is protecting me and compartmentalizing all the bad things. So some of these stories are like hazy, blurry for me. My mom was a part of all 3. And so were some other people in certain circumstances. So anyways, I've talked about these stories with them and heard from from other people's perspective, their experience of these stories as well. So I'm utilizing a combination of like my memory of these experiences as well as other people's recollection of it. So without further ado, in no particular order, number 1. This one took place in New York City. I actually found, I've traveled a lot to New York City for work. I've spent a lot of time there, and I've dealt with a lot of service dog issues there for some reason. Don't love that, but that's just been my personal experience. And as you guys know, I've been a service dog user for 17 years. I'm on my 4th guide dog, so I've had a lot of experience. And I always say that things didn't start getting really bad with denials until around that 2017, 18, 19 time frame. That's when I noticed an upswing in being denied, and being denied in like more aggressive ways than just like misinformation that I can educate you on. And this first situation that I'm gonna tell you is the first one I can remember that was so traumatizing for me that like I've never been the same when I face denials, in that I ever since go into like utter fight or flight. Like my body goes into complete panic mode now when I start to get denied by people, even if it is like more of an innocent denial. I used to just be like really understanding and explain and share the law and the rules and all about, like I used to give people benefit of the doubt and be all about educating, and now I just like almost shut down. Like I just get so anxious and panicky and feel like a fear of unsafety. And is that even a word, unsafety? I feel unsafe. I feel unsafe because of the experiences that I had where I was put in an unsafe position. I now almost like my body remembers that and feels like every time I'm being denied, I'm going to be put in that unsafe position again. Anyways, I was in New York City. My mom and I had flown on a red-eye flight, and I was there for a big gala award show dinner type of situation. And it was like a feel-good kind of award show. Like it was like celebrating people who are like making a difference with marketing and advertisements and stuff like that. And we, like I said, took a red eye from LA to New York. It's like 5-6 hour flight. And we were in, you know, the back of the plane, and you don't get like tight seats, sitting straight up all night. You're not getting any sleep. And we landed, I remember we got to our hotel around like 8:30 a.m. And we had actually paid for 2 nights in the hotel so that when we landed, we could get into the hotel, because we wanted to be able to like sleep, because typically check-in is like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We didn't want to land at 8 a.m. and then have to like wait all day to get into the room. We wanted to be able to sleep a bit and use the room to get ready for the event that night. And then after the event, we were staying in the same hotel for a second night, and then we would fly home the next morning. So we land, we get to the hotel around 8:30. We check in, and I think, and I've had this experience a couple times, where they don't actually really notice my guide dog because the check-in desk is so high that, and my dog is low laying down on the ground, that they actually don't see my guide dog unless they were like watching, looking up as we walked in. But I guess in this case, they were maybe like checking somebody else in. They didn't notice, and I was just a person in line. So I go, we check in, we walk away, and I guess at some point in us walking to the elevator, either a staff member saw us or another guest saw us and alerted the front desk. I do not know those details. But we got up to our room, we got in, and we were hungry, we needed breakfast. So my mom was like, I'm gonna run to a bodega. You crawl into bed and go to sleep. I was with Gallop. So Gallop's like just laying on the floor beside the bed. I am laying in bed. I have an audiobook playing because I always listen to something when I fall asleep. I am alone in the hotel room. I did not close the latch. Like I didn't flip over that thingy. I was falling asleep. I had either like just fallen asleep or I was in that state where you're about to fall asleep. And all of a sudden I hear this really loud knock on the door. And I didn't get up because I was like, my mom has a key, so it wouldn't be her. And if it is her and she forgot the key, she'll just call me. And if it's somebody else, like it's not important. It's just like, I'm just not gonna get out of the bed. So I stayed in the bed and just kind of was like, they'll go away. And then I heard the door, like a few seconds or a minute later, I heard the door open and somebody walked into the room, And the way the room was set up is that there was like a little hallway, and then it opened up into the room where like to the left was the beds. So this person wouldn't be able to see me or Gallup from where they were standing because there was like a hallway obstructing their view. And then I was like in the opening to the left in the bed. And they announced themselves as hotel security. It was like a very deep, loud, booming male voice. Like, it just sounded like somebody who was tall and strong, you know, like a security guard would typically be. And I was so confused because I was so drowsy. Like, I basically pulled an all-nighter, and I was now just in that like almost asleep, just waking up phase where I'm just like so disoriented and confused. And he basically starts asking if I have a dog in the room. I said, yes, I have my guide dog in the room. And he starts basically, well, he didn't ask. He said, somebody alerted us that you have a guide dog, like you have a dog in the room. Do you have a dog in the room? I said, yes, I have my guide dog. And he starts telling me that it's not a dog-friendly hotel. I cannot have a dog in my room. He is here to escort me out. I cannot stay at their establishment. And sorry, I don't know what makes me emotional.
Sounds so scary.
Yeah, the feeling of like being alone. Like 24 years old, not being able to see in an unfamiliar environment.
Should be illegal that they shouldn't be allowed to like enter.
Yeah, and like being like having a man in your room that I can't see him. And he's like threatening me or like using a threatening tone of voice. It was like so scary. I'm not even PMSing. I'm not usually like somebody who cries much, but stories like this are like so triggering. Like this experience literally changed me. And it was just, yeah, I felt extremely unsafe and very vulnerable. And like anything could have happened in that moment. And I honestly can't remember like what happened from that point on. And then I think I convinced him to leave. And then she came back. And I told her what had happened. And then obviously she was in shock and disbelief. Like the way you handle that is to call the room and to clarify. It is not to come into the room. My manager, who I've had as my manager for 9 years, is also a lawyer. That was his career before becoming a social media content creator manager. And it's great to have a lawyer on your team, and he was in town as well. He landed a little bit later than us. And I remember he came in and we talked to him about it, and my mom and him were both like irate about the situation. And they called the the manager of the hotel. We wrote an email like documenting what had happened. And they gave us 2 coupons for a free breakfast. That was the compensation for the experience.
Ridiculous.
We still had to pay to stay in the hotel. We considered changing hotels, but it was December, which is a very busy time in New York City because of Christmas. And the hotel we were staying at was on the same block as the venue of the event. And we were not going to be able to find another hotel that was going to be able to give us a room for that night that was in anywhere near close proximity to where the event was. At least not that I could afford. I had not made it on social media at the time enough to have like decent money. Like I very much had to penny pinch, and I was not flown in for this. Like, I flew myself in to be there because I viewed it as a good opportunity. And so we stayed there and we got 2 free breakfasts, one for me and one for my mom. So great. And I honestly like didn't feel like I could do anything more. I felt like people wouldn't believe me. Ugh, this is so hard.
Yeah. 2 more stories after this. Those will be other videos.
Yeah. I just hate that I felt this way. And I think a lot of disabled people or minorities will relate to this feeling. Because there was really no disabled people succeeding in social media at the time. I felt like I didn't. Like I didn't want to be seen as the disabled person that complains. And I think a lot of minorities like feel that. Like we can't complain. We can't speak up or advocate because people will be like, oh, disabled people are so annoying, they're always complaining, or like, they're such a victim. Like I felt like I was so lucky to be in a position that I was, that I didn't want to ruin it. And I felt so much pressure because there was no representation of disability on social media. And I was one of the first people really like making it in that space. Like I had to represent the community in such a positive way and change the negative stereotypes that people have about us. So like I couldn't complain, I couldn't be negative, I couldn't speak up because people would just view me as one of those angry disabled people. And it was like I constantly had this, you're just lucky to be here. So like I didn't feel like I could speak up when something was wrong. And I'm so glad I'm at a place in my career where like all I do is speak up whenever I see those things. But I wasn't at that place at that time for so many reasons. And yeah, this experience just like really changed me. And you can't like undo that experience. So yeah, that's the first one.
I don't think you need another 2 stories today. Save those for another video.
If you want another story, I've got it. Okay, me from the future, like an hour from the future, popping back in. I went, watched an episode of Friends, ate a piece of chocolate, decompressed, did all the dopamine things to help me feel better. And now that I've had a little bit of time to like process, I wanted to come back and say that additionally to what I already said about why I felt like I couldn't really like pursue this further than 2 free breakfasts, this is something I've battled with forever when it has come to having denials with my service dog and thinking about like pursuing legal action. And when this happened, like I did discuss with my family and my team all of the options, like blasting the name out on social media, which again, I've already explained why that didn't feel like right for me. Not wanting to like be perceived a certain way in the industry and by my audience and legal action and taking it to the media. And the reason I didn't take it to the media is the similar reason that I didn't take it to the internet. And the reason I didn't pursue legal action is the same reason I've always struggled with the idea of doing that. And that is questioning the value or the worth of doing that. Like, is it worth continually re-traumatizing my own self? retelling the story to lawyers in court? Is it worth the trauma of confronting that person to what? Like get $10,000 and get somebody fired? Like, and obviously like the real win would be creating change. But I feel like I've dedicated so much of my life to creating change through my advocacy work that the legal realm is not the way that historically I've chosen to create change. I do believe my work has created change and has value, but the legal system is not where I want to do it. The justice system is pretty flawed in many ways, and it's not easy for victims. So yeah, that is why, unfortunately, I chose not to pursue legal action, and why I never have, but maybe one day, we'll see. Not for this case, but like for some situation, maybe someday. Well, I don't know about you, but this feels like enough heavy stuff for one day for me. I don't think I can bare my soul anymore, so we're gonna actually do 1 and not 3. Who knew that 1 was traumatic enough to fill a whole video with? But it was. If you want to hear the other stories, let me know, because sadly I have them. And this is why I always say that it should not just be on the disabled person to advocate, it should be on their loved ones too. And since having these experiences, like I said, like I do go into like complete fight or flight shutdown mode when these things happen, even if it is just one of the more innocent ones. And I have started asking like my loved ones to become more educated, to learn the laws, to learn my rights so that they can be a part of helping advocate for me. Obviously, I still have to do it myself, like when I'm alone or when I'm with somebody who isn't as educated. And like, that is something I will have to do the rest of my life, choosing to be a guide dog user, and I accept that. But it is really nice when a loved one is there and is willing to step up and advocate for me. And I think if you are friends with any kind of minority, it is so important to be a part of advocating for them as a form of showing your love, your solidarity, your care for them. Yeah, so that's that. That's it for this video. I need to go hug my dog. So that's what I'm gonna go do. And I am sending you all of my love and appreciation for being here with me. Sorry for all the emotion. Next week will be lighter. I'm trying on outfits. It'll be fun, I promise. And until then, you can look over here to hear another guide dog related video where I react to cute internet guide doggies, or you can go over here to listen to me rant about toxic service dog culture. Until next time.